With the style and abstraction of a strung-out artist with no merit, Jonathan split the scene with drunken inspiration. He had immediately recognized the gravity of his situation and acted accordingly. Sarah, his girlfriend of 8 months, had wanted to know his whereabouts for the previous 3 hours. He was late, and she was pissed. Replying truthfully would have incurred traumatic injuries on his person. Tony's bar and lounge had to remain his secret. He confirmed nothing and split. The door through which he had walked many times before during more peaceful altercations slammed shut as he turned down the hall. Sarah's torrid alliteration of male maggot motherfucking marsupial echoed effortlessly within the drug-torn confines of his skull. Jonathan wondered what his sixth-floor neighbors thought of him. He rarely spoke to any of them. They most certainly had heard Sarah's articulated descriptions of him during her frequent fits of rage. He shook his head with bewilderment. The police had arrested Sarah often for domestic violence. He always bailed her out like the dutiful little victim. He always lied for her in court. The cops hated them both. The neighbors, with not-so-subtle fascination, had always watched the arguments and wished the cops would just beat the shit out of them. The neighbors had always complained to the apartment manager. He didn't give a shit. He didn't care because their rent check was always on time. Hell, he beat his own wife. The neighbors often called the cops about that. "But I love her," Jonathan mumbled to himself. "Just put me on a talk show, and the audience can laugh as I declare my love for the psycho bitch." With that thought complete, he realized that his neighbors must have seen him as a spineless idiot. He was. Maybe he was a spineless maggot, but Jonathan was most certainly not a marsupial. Shit, I don't even own a goddamn knapsack. I must dispel this misconception, he muttered while descending a stairwell that led into an alley. There, more often than a toll clerk pockets the occasional quarter, he would encounter a cat rummaging through the alley's vast array of soured yogurt containers and energy drinks. Stepping outside into the shadowland of the city, Jonathan encountered that feline and smiled. The cat hesitated, albeit only for a moment, but its hesitation reassured Jonathan. Hesitation meant temporary indecision. Within that momentary pause, Jonathan found personal amusement and a fleeting sense of superiority. "Hey, cat man dude, what be going down? Here my keys, see you around. I'm going back to Tony's bar and titty lounge." He tossed his keys toward the scavenging critter. As they slid into a trash can with a resounding clamor, he remembered the whips and chains of his childhood schooling. "Color within the lines. The sky is blue, not black. What do you mean the U.S. government continues to violate the poor and uneducated? It embraces the citizens and the illegals who suck on the teats of America." Synchronized again with abstraction, he bumped the fire door shut with his hip and reminisced about Casper, the friendly ghost. The image of that apparition and its escapades about the land of the living, the time that technology was forgetting, brought humor to the expulsion of his wet fart. He was tired. Sarah had continued her verbal castration of Jonathan for several moments after the slamming of the door. She didn't know what a marsupial was, but the word had sounded appropriate. She adored the intellectual ring contained within its pronunciation. It had even sounded better than misogynist. A lot better. Unknowingly, she had once used the word misogynist correctly in one of her references to Jonathan. He'd never thought of himself as a hater of all women, but he had at the time accepted her description of his character. He certainly hated her and a bunch of other bitches, but stayed because of the emotionless, animal-like sex. Contempt was easy to ignore when one was just fucking the body, not loving the person. She seldom used uncommonly spoken words properly, like a lot of decent folk who try to make a good impression with someone to whom they feel intellectually inferior. Nonetheless, she no longer thought of him as a sadist, which was what she thought misogynist meant. He was the proverbial male bastard, the ever-despised marsupial, the animal that evolution kinda screwed up. God damn him, she sniffled through tears and mucus. She reclined into the couch, smoked a bowl out of her bong, and mindlessly began to masturbate while watching the Home Shopping Network. Adrenaline permeated her veins. Without it, she felt ineffectual and vulnerable. Despite her poor vocabulary, rage gave her definition. She loved Jonathan, but she couldn't trust him. Like her mother had always said, never trust a man. You never know where their penises have been. Her mother had died when Sarah was only 6. She had been fucking the plumber who had unclogged a drain, and he strangled her. A simple transaction of events had led Sarah to her current existence. Her experience with school teachers, car mechanics, and jobless men had more than substantiated her mother's convictions. They were all dirty, more than most creatures that thrived on pond scum, except maybe for the amoeba. It was too small for the day-to-day crap to stick to it. Despite the fact that Sarah believed Jonathan to be mildly different from all other Homo sapien erect male idiots, she was obviously predisposed to expect the worst from the penis. This week, even more than others, she was exceptionally paranoid. Her horoscope had warned her to be extremely careful with regard to her ever-fluctuating diary of personal romance. The planets are no longer aligned with Neptune, and discordance must be expected in accordance with the elliptical orbit of Earth. Having achieved an orgasm, she removed her blouse, smoked another bowl, and went to sleep. She dreamed of babies.